The banks are here. They are not coming for the Bitcoin. They are coming for your Bitcoin. Every major institution that spent a decade mocking Bitcoin has now capitulated. Bank of America, Fidelity, PNC, Morgan Stanley, Vanguard, BlackRock, asset managers, billionaires, they all own it. They all sell it. And they're desperately building the products behind the scenes. But here's the wild part. JP Morgan, the same bank attacking Bitcoin publicly, the same one, just released recently a price prediction that puts Bitcoin at $240,000 soon. And they have a short-term one where they said it could go to 170 by the end of 2025, but 240 soon. And here's a list of all the companies, the institutions that are inside of Bitcoin. Let me ask you something. Do you really think the biggest banks on earth, the biggest institutions on earth, the biggest players on the risk board are onboarding millions of clients and building trillion-dollar infrastructure because they believe the price is going down? Or do they know something that you and I don't know? See, Occam's razor is the simplest answer is almost always the correct answer. In humans, it's the dichotomy, the paradox of, and the George Carlin quote of, think of the average American and how dumb the average American is, and everyone else, half the people are dumber than that. But really, is it though? Is it that people are generally smarter and we overthink things and we rationalize things and we make things more complicated than they really need to be? The legacy banks, and we'll show the bitcointreasuries.net if you haven't seen that, these are some of the loudest critics in the world, these banks. Bank of America, they're custodying now Bitcoin exchange traded products, ETP services, quiet integration. We just talked about that a few days ago and went in more detail on that. PNC Bank, partnering with crypto infrastructure pilots. JP Morgan Chase, obviously a lot of information just in the last month or two. Building products behind the scenes, been doing that for years. Citibank, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, Bitcoin futures, derivatives, trading desks, Morgan Stanley, BNY Mellon, insurance companies, full digital asset custody, access to for millions of people. The same banks that closed Bitcoiners' accounts are now building the rails of the new system. Why? Because they know the old one is dying. Asset managers and ETF issuers. These are the giants that move the global retirement system. The same retirement system that is collapsing in and of itself. The pension system collapsing. 401ks, insolvent. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all of them insolvent by government's own admission. Literal Ponzi schemes that are going insolvent because there's not enough workers and there's not enough young people to pay out the people that are retiring and leaving the system. BlackRock, Fidelity, Vanguard, State Street, Franklin Templeton, Invesco, ARK Invest, so many of the players that you know, maybe some that you don't. And we're not even hitting all of them. Every major asset manager on earth now has Bitcoin in their product suite. This is no longer fringe. It is Wall Street standard. Hedge funds, market makers, and institutional traders. This is where the smart money lives. Citadel, Jump Trading, Millennium, Point72, Renaissance, and then Paul Tudor Jones, Stanley Druckenmiller, Carlos Salinas. Obviously, we've seen an explosion in the Middle East. These guys don't chase narratives. They chase asymmetric bets. They only show up to assets that survive the gauntlet. Think about the public companies. MicroStrategy, obviously, now Strategy. Tesla, Block, Marathon, Hut 8, dozens of smaller public firms now holding, which I can bring up here as well. If you have not seen treasuries.net, again, it's a good site to just kind of see what is actually happening. So I'll bring that up so you can see that. Check this out. Again, all of the entities that are holding Bitcoin. There we go. Make sure you can see that. So these corporations are realizing the thing that we all know, that fiat melts. Bitcoin does not. sovereigns and governmental bodies, El Salvador, obvious one, Bhutan, many of you know, mining Bitcoin, state-backed Bitcoin mining. The U.S. states are talking about it or doing things about it. Wyoming, Texas, mining now or creating legal frameworks around this. I mean, cities can be doing this. I don't have a list here of cities doing it, but your local city can have people around the world funding their infrastructure, their investments going forward. It's pretty remarkable. Russia, the UAE, Argentina, Hong Kong. When nation states adopt, the game theory isn't beginning. It's already going. It's already mid-flight. Everyone with the most to lose is switching sides. And now they're telegraphing the next move. JP Morgan, like we mentioned earlier, it mentioned that Bitcoin could go to 170,000 by the end of the year. And we talk about here a lot, keeping the main thing. And then they called for $240,000 soon or very soon. Bitcoin, when they issued it, was basically a 3x from there. I think it was in the 80s, I believe, when they issued that. Did JP Morgan Chase, one of the biggest nodes in the fiat centralized network, do things just by chance because they don't think they're going to win? Wall Street, in fear and greed, won't let people do that. They will not let that happen. But again, this is back to, and I'll bring up the headline here so you can see it. I think this is it. Right, Bitcoin could climb to $240,000 over the longer term. So right here, $82,000, and they issued that. So going up 3x. And again, we know this to be the case because what's something that we show here all the time? All the time. The price of Bitcoin is the debt chart. That's what it is. Keep the main thing at the end of the day. Remember this. This is the only thing that you need to remember is that we finally have, NVIDIA CEO just recently has come out and said the quiet part out loud. And this is how we know we're triangulating the truth and trying to find what's right. He just talked about how Bitcoin is energy money. Henry Ford talked about this 100 years ago, obviously. Elon Musk just talked about how we may not have anything but energy money, and Bitcoin being the best representation of that. How you can use energy, stranded energy, captured energy, flare gas, whatever it is, methane, turn that into a currency, which is current electricity, turn it into a currency, a money, Bitcoin, and then send that anywhere instantly on the earth. And voila, that person has your captured energy, your proof of work. And then they can go take that and use that energy around the network. They can go trade those sats. If you still live in a fiat system, they can then trade that for dollars if that's what they want to do. However, in the future, when there's just sats, they go take those sats that is zipped around the Lightning Network or wherever it might be, and then boom, you can trade it for a nest. You can trade it for an apartment complex. You can pay your employees. You can pay your bills. You can buy a business with it. You trade it for a business. It's the first time in human history we've been able to do that instantaneously without people stealing your time and energy. It's remarkable. So they're literally giving you the roadmap. JP Morgan Chase giving you the roadmap. You don't build products for an asset that you think is dying. So you listen to the mainstream news, mainstream media, legacy media, and that's all you hear. So all you hear is Bitcoin's going to zero. It's crashed again for the 1,000th time. The Bitcoin obituary. So this is what we just talked about a second ago. Elon Musk predicting the energy-based Bitcoin place money. You have a lot of people out there. I think I was just talking to one of my buddies, Aladdin, and who runs Bitcoin trading cards, and we were talking about how one of the hardest pieces of FUD to use. You see the altcoiners use this. You see a lot of people try to use this of Bitcoin's the distraction. Bitcoin's the diversion. Bitcoin is created by the CIA or the NSA, and it's so tough because it was people for decades were trying to find an energy money, an encrypted energy money where you send value across the internet and it couldn't be subverted by man. And Bitcoin was the culmination of that in 2009. Some group was able to figure it out, open source it, and make it anti-fragile enough where one person couldn't control it, the nodes in the network. And people get caught up in this centralization. It's the mining pools and the people that have a lot of Bitcoin own. That doesn't make Bitcoin centralized. Ownership of coins could be centralized. That's like anything. Because someone could have a lot of currency, and just like someone could have a lot of Bitcoin, but one node is one node. The nodes are what hold the power of the network. And we have the block size wars dang near 10 years ago to show us that when powerful actors with a lot of Bitcoin or miners come together to try and take power away from the people, they were unable to do that. And that will continue to play out as long as we tend our garden, as long as people run nodes. Self-custody. We're going to show all the time. Get your foundation passport, get your open source hardware, generate a seed, memorize it, or put it in your stamp seed. Some of the sponsors of our show, put in titanium. This is the way out. But people want to then talk about it's an op. They're trying to do this to subvert. They're getting you used to digital. Newsflash: we already have digital money. We've had digital money for a while now, guys. This is not a new thing. Where do you use your banking apps at? This has been something that's going on. We didn't need Bitcoin to get people ready for digital money or this digital world. That was already centralized. That was already controlled. Bitcoin is the life raft off the Titanic. We already had a world where that was the case. So why would you create Bitcoin that's open source, anti-fragile, immutable, permissionless? I can run the code. Anyone can run the code, run a node, and it's outside the system and not controlled by a centralized party. Why would we have that when we already had PNC banking app or Bank of America or Chase Morgan app on your phone, which is perfectly centralized, freezable. You have permission. Why would you have that? So Bitcoin was discovered and that let the cat out of the bag. So maybe at first, maybe it was someone inside and they leaked it or whatever it was. Maybe it was an Edward Snowden play and it was leaked. And then, it was too late. Maybe they're going to use it for a different purpose, but it doesn't matter now. The cat's out of the bag. The toothpaste is out of the tube. It doesn't matter now. And then all of a sudden, an explosion of people copying Bitcoin's code, versions of the code, trying to do different things to make more fiat, to scam people, to then try to scam people for cash or fiat, or to scam you out of your Bitcoin. That's where all these other 20 million, 10 million, 40 million, however many altcoins there are. I have no idea. Last time I stopped paying attention really was when it was at 20, 50,000, 100,000 or whatever. Altcoins. Now there's, I think, millions, tens of millions. Those are people trying to scam off the system, trying to scam off the success of an infinity coin off of Bitcoin. You have to build society based off of solid monetary rock. You're never going to do that. That'll never happen when it's based off of fiat quicksand, when it's based off of NFTs and JPEGs and crypto. It literally cannot happen. We see what's happening right now. A system built on quicksand. We showed this the other day as well. Hal Finney from 15 years ago talking about where Bitcoin will go. Stay decentralized and secured. It's going to start eating the whole network. It's either going to zero or it's going to tens of millions of dollars. Either it works or it doesn't. We are, as people, we overcomplicate things. We get emotional. It's hard to delay gratification because fiat's eating us alive. It's very tough, incredibly tough. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful not to jump ship and jump back into the pseudosciences. This is why we talk about self-custody. This is why we talk about the stamp seeds of the world and foundation, cold storage, getting your keys, taking a few minutes to write them down stamp them into titanium, to generate it from your cold card, to use Bitcoin denominated products like the sponsors we have that support the show. I went and found the sponsors. I said it the other day for the first time. I went and found all the sponsors we have. The half dozen sponsors we have I went to them. They did not come to me. We're not just accepting things just because. I went to them specifically because they hold the same ethos that I hold. And if something changes, you can come to me. Come talk to me about it. That's why, because I chose them. I chose them to be a part of this. Soap miner, keep yourself healthy. Will you be able to afford? Will you be healthy enough to enjoy Bitcoin as it takes over the whole system? The tallow-based soaps, right? All these things that can keep us going, can keep the system going. That we're going to have a system that we're all going to be here. But what system are we going to be living in? Are we choosing CBDCs and slavery, or are we choosing Bitcoin and freedom? You have to build the world on solid rock. Zoom out. These institutions are not momentum traders. They are accumulating during volatility. We talked about this again the other day, the playbook of a Bank of America coming in this playbook that happens over and over again. They manufacture narratives to suppress the price while they fill their bags, while they build products in the background to take advantage of the people getting shaken out. They don't predict the future. They create it. But we can do that too. We can do that too. When JP Morgan, Fidelity, and BlackRock align, they are architecting the next monetary system. Why now? Why now? The liquidity cycle is turning, which we will have hopefully Cameron McGregor on soon, who has actually a contrarian take that liquidity, everything we're thinking about is completely backwards. And that the system is completely breaking apart. Like we're talking completely breaking apart. And over the next year or two, everything is going to be reborn in this world that we have been talking about. But it's really not going to be because of the liquidity. Like the system won't exist. ETF inflows are persistent. There is a supply shock brewing, obviously. Saylor just bought another 10,000 plus Bitcoin today. Strategy did. The sovereign accumulation starting. Bigger players now starting to get in. But here's the danger. People see all this institutional adoption and think Bitcoin is just another asset class. That is the trap. Bitcoin is not another asset class. Bitcoin is not an asset. It's the lifeboat. It's the emotional, physical representation of the system of where we're going. This is everything. This is how the system is going to be built in the future. It is the protocol, the money outside the system that we have never had. Everything else is still tied into the system. It still exists in the old system. Do not misinterpret institutional FOMO as validation. Bitcoin does not become real because BlackRock joined. Bitcoin is money. It's not a stock. It's not a tech play. It's not a hedge. It's not a position. It's not a trade. It's not a hedge fund fad. And in my opinion, it's not an invention either. It's a discovery. It's a discovery of a bunch of inventions aggregated together. These things were always here. As Bob Proctor has always said, like these things, everything around us, energy doesn't get destroyed. It just transfers states. All this knowledge we have, everything is available and always has been. But are humans ready for the eyes to see and the ears to hear? Are we able to put it together at certain times? Are we able to bring the different things of the world together at different times? Have we harnessed energy enough and channeled it in such a way that we have the tools or abilities to build things? They're always around. It wasn't like we had to get to the year 2000 just to be able to do X, Y, and Z, or get to the year 1000 in order to figure out how to use a horse. The horse was always there, or these things were always there. They're always available. The ability was there, but could humans figure out a way to channel it and put it all together? Bitcoin is a protocol outside the legacy system. It's a parallel monetary network, unseizable, uninflatable, borderless, permissionless. Final settlement in minutes or seconds. Final settlement. Getting rid of all the chargebacks, all the 3% fees, all this garbage. No CEO, no marketing team. There's no pre-mine. There's no bailout mechanism, no monetary council. It's the first money ever discovered by humans that governments can't distort. The only distortion comes when we don't self-custody our assets, when we get lured back into the system by dividends. We get lured back in by, this is not for everybody. Everyone has a different path. Freedom is one generation from being gone and being taken away. So we must hold fast to that. And it's not for everybody. It is absolutely not for everybody. Most people will not be able to stomach going through the fight. They just won't. The American Revolution only had a couple % of people fighting, really, at any given time. That's it. but the other 97% got the winnings. And that's okay. Everyone is called to do something different. Owning Bitcoin through Wall Street is not sovereignty. They are trying to rebuild the fiat cage around a freedom technology. Your job is to own your keys, not rent exposure. Own your keys. Takes a few minutes and a few $1 in order to get this. This is where you make the move. Buying Bitcoin, taking it off the exchanges or wherever you're buying it, or earning it. Even if you're earning it, right? You're earning Bitcoin. That's the only way you're going to be able to get Bitcoin in the future, is if you earn it. You will not be able to buy Bitcoin in the future. You have to earn it. You have to swing a hammer. Proof of work, energy, your stamp seed, your open source wallets. Link in the description for the different sponsors, the Bitcoin only sponsors that I went and sought out. Feel very grateful and blessed that I have Crowd Health as a sponsor. Meanwhile, Bitcoin Denominated Life Insurance, Club Orange, which used to be the Orange Pill app, Bitcoiners, true Bitcoiners that have the ethos, Soap Miner, the Bitcoin Way team to help everyone set up these things if you need help doing so. So if you would like to support the show, what we're doing, please check those sponsors out. And they are Bitcoiners. If you have problems with them, please let me know. They won't be sponsors very much longer. This is the way. Each one teach one. That's the way I learned. When I started 10 years ago into the Bitcoin space, is seeing what was out there, listening to people. What are you using? Then doing the homework, doing your own research. Again, not for everybody. Most people don't want to do research. I try to be very careful actually in what I'm doing and how I'm speaking on the podcasts we do, on these shows, to really try to keep things at a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade reading level. Robert Kiyosaki is one of the most successful writers in history, especially financial history, because he writes at a 3rd, 4th grade reading level. That's why. A context shifter to reach the average person, to reach all of us. Talk and speak in a way that the average person can understand. The way isn't going to be getting Jamie Dimon in here to move us forward. Because guess what? Like we said the other day, he's trying to Trojan horse you. He's trying to Trojan horse you. So again, the macro, all these other things, that's great. That's wonderful and all. But the whole reason that I got into Bitcoin is because the average person doesn't have time nor care about learning the macro, learning the plumbing of the system. There's so many great people that have spent so much time trying to learn the system. And I was that guy for a long time. I was in real estate. I was learning the Japanese, yen carry trade, and I was learning how to raise money and do real estate. And I was learning how to invest and fix up properties. And I was learning about PE ratios and cap rates and doing all the math and reading that everything that Lynn Alden had out there and it could possibly put out there, and studying what George Gammon was doing, and the Jeff Snyders of the world and Mike Maloney's and all these people over the last 15 years, some longer than others. But then you wake up one day and realize, is this really the world that we're living in? That you have to be at this high of a level of studying that much all the time in order to just hopefully keep your head above water and get ahead? That's psychotic. Bitcoin is the way. Bitcoin is the way out of the system, a system that can't be controlled. Parallel, a lifeboat off of the fiat Titanic. The fiat debt-based legacy monetary Titanic is the shadow banking system, is the plumbing of the system, learning, seeing what Jerome Powell is doing, waiting to see what Jerome Powell is going to do. Every second of energy you give to that system is just giving more energy to that system. It's like people saying ridiculous things on Twitter. The more you engage with it, the more traction they get. That's the fiat world we live in. Don't give it energy. Then it doesn't grow. Then nothing happens. Sovereignty is not a spectator sport. It's a lifestyle and a responsibility. Every one of these tools we talked about, the sponsors we have of our show, I appreciate, again, you checking them out, letting me know what you think of them. We had a good talk about some of them the other day. I think we're going to have, on Friday, I believe we're going to have Michael Jordan of the Bitcoin Way on, so he can talk to you about this stuff and ask questions. I'm going to start having some of the sponsors on the shows, on the live streams from time to time. And so that way we can learn and grow together and actually have a Bitcoin circular economy and actually start building this. Because looking around and waiting for someone else to do it is not going to be the case. Hoping your NFT goes to the moon, or the Fed, waiting for Jerome Powell on with bated breath of what he's going to do. Is he going to lower rates, or is he going to be gone or not? It's ridiculous. And that's why I was saying earlier, If you're waiting around for that, life is passing you by. You need to start building the life. And this is as much to me as it is to anyone else, building the life that you want to see. But the energy needs to be channeled into where and what we are building. That's where the energy has to lie. It has to lie in the system, the life raft that is off the system. Because we know, anyone who's here right now or watching us, you know the system's going down. The system's been going down for 113 years, 112 years. It's going down. Lost 99% of purchasing power. Right? We've showed this many times as well, obviously. I'll find it somewhere, but the dollar losing everything over the last 112 years. This is a system that we another talking about the system will collapse. The people are protected people that are trusted to protect the system, the very system, are here telling you in 1 minute that you can't trust the system. You can't trust it. The fiat legacy monetary Titanic is going down. This is them admitting it. This is on our YouTube channel. Go Google. I can try to play. I don't know if you'll be able to.
On the institution, but they're going to be. People need to know, and I don't think you have much hope of reaching a public that doesn't have a professional need to know. I completely agree. I don't think you scare the public. If you put this out, like, why are they telling me this? Should I be concerned about my bank? Like, my insurance company doesn't tell me what they're doing with my assets.
Hopefully you guys can hear that.
They're going to pay my claim.
You don't need to be able to see it. You just need to be able to hear it.
I think you've got to think of the unintended consequences of taking a public that has more full faith and confidence in the banking than maybe people miss. So there's a select crowd of people that are in the institutional side. And if they want to understand this, they're going to find.
Hopefully you guys can hear that.
There's a bunch of law firms represented in this room. There's a bunch of people that charge them by the hour a lot of money to explain this all to them, and it's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And they all have huge staffs. But I would be careful about the unintended consequences of starting to blast too much of this out in the general public.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, people getting caught up in everything, in treasury companies, all of it. And I will say it's beyond frustrating at times, because you see the rating, you see how easy it is. You see how it takes a few minutes to go self-custody your assets, buy Bitcoin, and the middle class and the poor getting destroyed. And it's beyond frustrating, because there's a select few people that have the ability to get ahead in the fiat system. And we're at an inflection point. We are truly at an inflection point. So I saw this world of living in real estate for 10 years and investing, Fed interest rates, trying to learn the plumbing, all this garbage. And you learn very quickly, the average person can't do this. So the gap, the wealth gap, just continues to grow, which the wealth gap will always be there. But the poor and middle class are just getting absolutely destroyed. And we know throughout human nature that that's where people go. The human nature will collapse in on itself. We'll have massive civil unrest, even more than we do now. So how do we fix that? How do you constrain government? Because again, newsflash, government is a group of people. They are families as well. They have families as well. They are people. They need Bitcoin as well. Their families need Bitcoin. We all need Bitcoin. We all need hard money. But it's not going to come just sitting here thinking, hoping, praying that it's just going to be great and fine. The most powerful institutions on earth have already capitulated. They're joining the very system they swore they destroy. But don't confuse their adoption with your freedom. This is the whole point. Bitcoin is not just an investment. It's a lifeboat off a sinking ship. Take self-custody, build sovereignty, each one teach one. And remember, governments aren't monoliths. They are people. Like we just talked about. People who need this lifeboat. The world is changing, and your job is to stay ahead of it. So appreciate you guys for joining. Bastards, yeah, you're dang right, Hat Boy. Appreciate you guys a ton. I know I say every Monday that I try not to bump up against Jack Mallers, and I know he's probably rolling, so I try not to do it, but it seems like every Monday that just seems to happen. So appreciate you guys joining a ton. Martin, good to see you as well. Everyone and most things will bend the knee to Bitcoin. Yeah, they will. It's unchanging. It's code, right? I mean, this is very simple, and either you change, it's not changing, so you need to change to it, and this will just continue happening over and over and over again. And you look at things like, it's unfortunate. You look at things like the XRP crowd. I spent time over the last 10 years just studying a lot of these different coins, especially like the ones that have been around for a while. And it's, again, they have pre-mines. They're literally the devil's in the details with a lot of these things. People that are, again, a lot of these crowds, unfortunately, are just in it for the fiat. They're not in it for a new system. They're in it because it's a lot of capitulation just in general of, and I think the thing that's most sad to me is so many people's will has been broken that they just like, well, government will never let it happen. Well, you better get on board with the private company who's going to do cross-border payments, something to that effect. It's just so sad. Like, did George Washington cross the Delaware in the middle of the night, Christmas Eve, to say, you know what, you're right, you're right, King George. I don't need my freedom. I just don't even need it. That's okay. I know it. Your plan is good. It's good enough. You won't let me have it. So that's fine. That's totally fine. And Torah, what's great or what's good? And Richard, yeah, thank you for that. The audio. The audio was the most important part. The video is not great on that. Again, I'm still working on the streaming part of mine. I have a solution I think will work for my video feed, but for whatever reason, a lot of people I know, the internet's like, I do speed tests, everything's like fine. I don't know why the Restream, it's just Restream like doesn't work well just using Restream. So I might have to use like OBS, like an encoder, another platform to stream through Restream to then go live. So I can change like the bit rate and stuff. So I've been having to do back end garbage with that. So bear with me on the video. My internet's awesome, but doesn't want to be awesome apparently when I'm streaming. So upload speeds are great, way higher, like download speeds, but nothing works. Nothing works like it should. But audio is the most important part. Did you know though, by the way, most of audio, we do a little more in their live streams, but like our podcast, obviously, like I would say 60 to 85% of the pods are just listened to. So the video aspect, I don't worry too much about the video. That's why I started running. I used to do 1080p on the podcast like a year ago, but most of them are 720p now. We used to do all kinds of effects and different stuff in the pods. Don't do any of that anymore. Because I've polled the audience, everything, and most people listen. And even when I think about when I'm doing it, vast majority of what I do on YouTube is I listen to other things. I don't actually watch. So pretty interesting, very, very interesting. But I appreciate that because we are working on it for the live stream because it is more important for the live stream. So we will get there. Bear with me on that. And thanks, Richard. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you saying about the content. I mean, that my content's not for everybody. It's definitely not. If you want like, peaches and puppies and whatever, and that's not this. It's not me. I try to operate and balance between reality and idealism and pragmatism, idealism, visionary, reality, all these things. You're trying to triangulate all this. And the problem is you're trying to shift the Overton window. And it's money is, I came from a world of like studying personal development. I was a professional hockey player. So like you do a lot of mental training, psychological training and things of that nature. You're just sports psychology. And so much of, one of my favorite poems is again, and I've shared it on here before, but like, and I always forget every time I come on here and try to say it, I forget like the paragraph I always say, but it's, if you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you won't. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but eventually they go to the one who thinks he can. And that's what money is. Money is psychological. Money, people, you have so many segments of society that have just been beaten down, broken. The libertarian crowd has walked away from politics decades ago. All these different things where it's just a sign of fiat, broken money, faith leaving society, God leaving society, and broken money very quickly going after that. Well, we don't stand for anything as a society, these are not fun things. These are not popular things to talk about. The truth is not popular. And so when you stand on quicksand, whether it's your belief structure and your thoughts and your money, well, good luck. You're not going to do very well. But no one's taught that in school. Legacy media doesn't talk about that at all. Hollywood culture doesn't talk about it at all. Social media, you're not going to get it, right? If it bleeds, it leads. So you're going to have a lot of negativity, a lot of garbage out there. And so the really easy truth fixes, and truth is not easy. It's doing the right thing is not easy. So I don't want to make it sound like it's always, but you're much more fulfilled and it's a simpler life, and everything is simplified in your life. So it's not that truth is always easy, but when humans start taking shortcuts and trying to build their own towers of Babel, at least in all of my experience, all of my 38 years of studying the Bible, my own experience, seeing other people, just being a purveyor, surveyor of humanity, the further we get away from truth and you start getting away from truth, the harder and harder and harder your life gets. And then the harder it is when you snap back, because ultimately you do snap back to reality, right? Gravity eventually gets you. You can't outrun the speeding train. Then wham, the harder. So if you're hopefully staying close to the truth, little course corrections are fine. But the further you get out from reality, the harder that fall is. And so it just, yeah. And so the content I do is not for everybody. And that's something that I struggle with, because I try to talk to the average person, but at the same time, I'm very energetic and passionate about truth, about laying your foundation of your life on bedrock. And I think about sleep. 8 hours a day is sleeping. 8 hours, the other 16 hours are up generally, and you're working for money or trading time for money and things of that nature. And then how's your soul? So these really big core pillars of your life, that's what I think about all the time. Because if we can get those right, then everything else comes much easier in your life, and you're much more fulfilled, and it's just simplified. And it's just for life, me, I'll never understand why it's not. Most people just don't look at it that way, I guess. But everyone wants to take a harder route. And again, I'm not perfect either. So I'm always trying to look for course correction as well. And that's something that's always constantly in my head, though. But what intrigues me as to why most people they're not constantly trying to better themselves in many different ways. That's what's amazing to me. And I see a lot of people just broken, like the broken will. They've been broken. They're broken psychologically. They're broken mentally. They're broken emotionally. And again, that's life. You're going to have a lot of that. But I guess my whole point is that it's something that this content is not for everybody. I'm looking for the couple percent of people that actually want change in their life. If there's I know there's a couple percent of people out there that want to change. I know there's a couple percent that want to change their life and actually want to be different and actually stick close to truth. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to hopefully awaken those men and women in society who's on fire for that, who's on fire for truth, and not taking the easy way out. It's hard. It's hard when everyone's going this direction. It's hard when everyone is, it's something I battled with for years. I remember years ago I never invested in stocks and in paper and things of that nature, as I would always battle with, investing in companies. I didn't believe what they were doing. They're garbage people running the company. They were giving to terrible initiatives and doing bad things. And I couldn't even morally justify those things. So it's tough. And then people are saying, well, have you used $1 before in your life? Yes, I have. But those are the things that I think about. So what's the fairest and best system and best possible solution we can have for all these people going forward? Well, something that is based on math and code, and people don't have to be trusted with. I don't have to trust the leader of JP Morgan Chase. I don't have to trust the guy running the currency printer at the United States. That's what Bitcoin does. That's the life raft off of the whole system. I don't have to trust the guy mining gold and silver and using, whatever. They're messing up the environment because they're digging, massive holes in the ground. They're using kids to do certain things. I don't have to worry about that. That's the best solution I found is Bitcoin. That covers all those bases. I don't know if I can say it's perfect, because I don't know if anything in life is perfect besides Lord God Almighty, as Dom said here. And it's so true. It's a great quote. True love, hope, peace, and joy, and eternal life found. And it is true. So we have to do what we can. This content's not for everybody. And so it's never going to be, shared out in mass because it's not fun. And especially the way I present and how I talk a lot of times. So I appreciate you guys being here because it's humbling and, looking for community at the end of the day. Community is the number one aspect of a survival situation. It's not gold or bars of candy bars or Bitcoin and, even firearms for that matter or whatever. I mean, it's community. It's how can the people around me help me when I'm down, and how can we help each other? Because we're not going to know what we need help with when times are really bad or when we're in a bad spot. So thank you for bearing with me today because I cannot even speak today. So appreciate you guys so much. This has been an absolute blast. We might be doing a live stream tomorrow, and we'll probably do one or two more in midweek here, either Tuesday through Thursday. I'm not sure when. At least one more, I would imagine, and then we'll do one Friday. And custody your assets, custody your Bitcoin. So let me know what you think about the sponsors in the show, down in the description. So you get, obviously you get different percent off or money off for using the link, stuff like that. It supports the show, obviously. Support Bitcoin only shows, whether it's these or not. If you can support Bitcoin only products, services, companies, it's the most important thing. Help the circular economy. Keeping, it's like shopping local, right? Shop Bitcoin. It's like shopping local. Support, get back to the grassroots, local, decentralized nature and supporting those ecosystems instead of just spraying our time and energy out to the huge global entities of the world, because that time is ending. That's why I'm pumped to have Cameron McGregor back on and talk about this, because that's a lot of what he's been talking about. So we just had, like I said, Peter Dunwith, Joe Consortian, awesome Bitcoin analyst, so incredibly smart. We had some really good lives last week. You guys were a lot of fun last week on the lives we did. And we have, I'm not sure who's coming up this week. Either we'll have Neil Flesher, who I don't know if he's in the chat right now. He was on a couple last week. Incredible Apache pilot from the military academy from West Point. He's about my age, and he flew Apaches and wrote an incredible book called Modern Chains. So this is an incredible book. Check this out. Neil is an awesome guy, and interviewed him recently. And this is about ethics before economics and doing the right thing, and how macro is completely pointless. Like if you're truly a savant, and I believe this, and this is a guy right here. If you truly get what's going on, then you see, and Michael Saylor has even said this, that all the economics, all the stuff is complete pseudoscience. It's fake. So going down these roads, that's why I'll never understand trying to learn the plumbing of this old system. That where is it getting you? What is it getting you? It's just taking you away from building in the world where we're going. So ethics over economics, doing the right thing is always the right thing. So the whole point is, you don't need to sit there and talk to somebody about how, oh, the interest rates are doing this, and liquidity flows are coming, and the yen carry trade, and real rates versus nominal rates or whatever. Like, you don't need to understand that, because the average person doesn't understand. You just need to teach them, hey, is my money moral? Like, fiat currencies break multiple commandments just by their existence. Thou shalt not steal. Well, guess what? Newsflash. Fiat currencies steal from you. Just by their very existence, fiat currencies steal from you and I. That is not good. So now, because you drank from the chalice of easy currency, you now get the ramifications of everything after that. Because you polluted the top of the stream, everything downstream is now polluted. You can't have honest society from dishonest money. It's impossible. All the subsequent decisions and all the subsequent things now after that are getting blown up, and they're polluted. And now no one knows, because we're 10 miles downstream. We're all trying to clean with our little pool skimmers. You're looking upstream. You don't know where the problem's coming from. And everyone's trying to clean things. So that's what a politician does, or people arguing online, red and blue. You're trying to do something. You're trying to shuffle deck chairs. You're trying to vote a new captain in the Titanic after it's already struck the iceberg. So you're sitting at the pool skimmer trying to clean up the river, instead of just going to the top of the river and turning off the spigot, just fixing up the hole, patching it up. Instead of saying, you know what, our society is going to run on good, decent, honest money. First, I'm going to do this. I'm going to run on honest money first. And then everything in my life starts getting better and easier. And that's why I said the other day, I will stick to this to the end of time. The last person in Bitcoin, the very last person, 8 billionth person in Bitcoin will be better off even being the last person in. And that's what people don't understand. This goes back to the NVIDIA CEO saying, we now have energy that can be transferred or converted into Bitcoin. So turned into a currency and a money and then sent across the earth. We can now transfer energy across the earth. We've never been able to do that. Well, it's the same thing with the 8 billionth person being in Bitcoin, is that life, because of every subsequent person that gets into the network and their life slowly gets better over time because there's money that can't be stolen from them. Now, the last person gets to benefit from less and less unrest on earth because now people are happier. They are more, there's more abundant. It's not utopia. Not every bad thing goes away, but because people have, the standard of living has gone up and costs have gone down for every single human being as more and more people join the network, now there's less incentive to do bad things to each other. There's less incentive to go to war. There's way less incentive to do XYZ bad thing. Again, doesn't go all the way. So with all this happening, the last person on earth is going to benefit from that as well. So Stale Surfer, is that what your name is? Bitcoin has peaked and is a joke. Oh, all right. Well, might as well shut this all off then. Oh man, I think sorry you're struggling. Hey, you can be the 8 billionth person and you're still going to benefit from it. So even if you don't buy it, you might want to promote it. So Satoshi said, you might want to get some of case catches on. I mean, you don't have to, but you should probably talk well about it because it's still going to improve your life, fortunately. So, I mean, I can explain that one to you again if we need to, but it's, that's how the game works. So like I said, we sit from the chalice of easy currency. You get all the downstream effects. You choose CBDCs in slavery, you choose fiat currencies, you choose to print, you choose a currency, money backed by nothing, which turns into a fiat currency or it becomes a fiat currency, then you get all the bad ramifications of that. You get all the downhill consequences of that. If you choose good money, if you choose sound money, I mean, again, you can look at the empires of the world and we have that world to see the Roman Empire, the splitting of the empire, and one that ran on sound money for hundreds of years. And then when they started debasing it, then they fell apart. And the other one quickly fell apart because they started coin clipping and melting things down right away. So this is the same process. Bitcoin just gives you that chance, to, oh, hey, now we have something that cannot be debased. We're not debasing. And it's an auditing time machine time chain every 10 minutes. So the auditing becomes much easier, much faster, much quicker to globally do this. You don't have to trust people at the treasury. You don't have to trust people at a bank. You don't have to trust people in government in order to do that. We can all run nodes and audit it ourselves. And if you start messing with things, you can't operate in the system. So you have to abide by the rules of the protocol. So it gives us that chance to extend this out. Stack and chill. Exactly. Stack and chill, but get active if you are so called to do. So some will stack and chill, many will stack and chill, but at the same time, we need to tend our garden. And the faster that everyone is educated, the faster that the system flips at the end of the day. So you can stack and chill. You definitely can. At the same time, I would like to see less civil unrest. I guess that's where I'm going with all this. That's the reason I do all this. I feel compelled to talk about it solely because of that fact. If I thought that we were just going to have adoption overnight for the next week or two and the civil unrest was going to go away, and again, not all of it's ever going to go away. But because of fiat currencies, we've found ourselves in a world where we have global wars going on everywhere, civil unrest everywhere, people at each other's throats, red and blue. So voting with your wallet, voting with your feet, voting with your voice, typing too, I guess, are massive things we have nowadays in order to help others, to be able to see what's going on and see the light. The poor will always be among you. And so not everyone's going to get it. Like we said earlier in the show, not everyone's going to get it. Most people aren't called to do said thing and talk about sound money and talk about hey, how can we right the ship of society? How can we fix the monetary layer? How can we create a bedrock that society can be built on? Which, it's amazing because I've seen a lot of people talk about this recently. I've seen more and more people talking about the layers of the system and what society is built on. So we're getting there. You're getting there. But I appreciate you guys. I'm sure Jack's rolling right now. Check out like I said, we're gonna have Neil on. Go check out the Joe Consorti podcast or the Peter Dunworth podcast. If you're into that, if you're into the numbers, we're gonna have, this is incredible. We're gonna talk more about just ethics over economics. So we're gonna talk about that in the pod here. Go get your foundation passport. Go get your stamp seed. Links in the description to support the show, to support Bitcoin only businesses, open source businesses, the Bitcoin Way, and Crowd Health. Meanwhile, Bitcoin denominated life insurance. I'm going to have Michael Jordan from the Bitcoin Way on Friday, so go check them out, or go check that out as well on Friday. And then Soap Miner. So stay healthy. Enjoy your Bitcoin. Stack and chill, but we need to be able to be healthy enough to enjoy our stack and see life into what we're envisioning. So I appreciate you guys more than you know. Check those out here. Appreciate you supporting the show as well.